Good morning, good morning. It's time for our yoga, so please join us. Oh, I'm not sure if we've got anybody out of bed yet. Yes, hello, hi there. Come join us for yoga. I was wondering if we were having to turf people out of bed then. Morning, Alan, how are you? Hi there, folks. Come join us for yoga. And if you can, grab yourself some hairband or an elastic band or a looped resistance band, anything that's a little bit stretchy. Good morning, folks. How is everybody? How are you doing? What are we on now? I think it's week 6, isn't it? It's getting hard. Good morning, good morning. I'm well, thank you, Paul. I'm not too bad. Not too bad at all. Okie doke. So for those of us joining, if you can grab yourself an elastic band or a hairband, that would be fantastic. And make sure that you've got a mat or something on the floor to stop you from slipping. So we're going to do some standing poses as well. Okay, so we've got quite a few of us joined, so let's get started. Just bring yourself into a standing position with your feet hip widths apart. And please make sure you've taken your socks off, so we want bare feet. And then if it's okay for you to close your eyes, then please do. Or just take your gaze down to somewhere really, really boring on the floor. And bring all of your attention into your body and down to your feet. So those of you who spend time barefoot, and I hope you have used the opportunity for lockdown to wear shoes a lot less, you may feel a sense of groundedness through the feet. Can you feel that connection of your feet with the floor? You can shift your weight around a little bit just to tune into that connection. But if you're not accustomed to taking your shoes off, then it may be that actually that connection that you can feel between the brain and the feet isn't quite as strong as it used to be. And this sense of feeling grounded through your feet may be something that would be really beneficial to work on if you're not feeling that right now. So we have a lot of sensors in the feet that will tell the rest of the body what to do in relation to the floor surface, which is why if you wear the really thick cushioned running soles, the problem with those is that the body can't then sense the unevenness of the ground beneath you. So the thinner the sole on the shoe, the better the body can sense what's underneath and adjust as needed. So the more time you can spend barefoot just around the house is really going to be beneficial for waking up that connection between the brain and the feet. Okay, so with that sort of sense of groundedness now, we're going to start to take it into a little bit of a circle. Now, if this makes you feel a bit unbalanced, open your eyes. But ideally, what we want to imagine is we've got a halo on our head, because of course, who doesn't? And that you're going to trace that halo, starting with the head, but it's going to get the whole body involved. So it's a bit like those, they're called the weevils, the things that spin round on their axis. Your feet are going to stay stuck to the floor, but the rest of the body is tracing this halo. So perhaps bringing the breath into this as well. So as you come around the front, you're breathing in, and as you go around the back, you're breathing out. Using the nose breath. And notice what's happening with the feet. So perhaps as you go forwards, are your toes scrunching up to maintain your balance? If they are. Just see if you can relax them. And as you go back, is there a sense where you could maybe fall backwards? So just noticing how that feels. And if you do get out of balance, what happens to the breath? Quite often what happens is we hold the breath with that expectation that we're going to fall. But generally, if we're barefoot, the body is very good at responding to the change in weight and in pressure, and will often be able to stop you before you fall over. Okay, so we'll take a couple of circles the other way. So really, really valuable thing to do every day. Take off the shoes and the socks and just feel the ground beneath you. Okie doke, so coming back into the centre, we'll just start to warm up the body a little bit. So just very loosely start to bounce on the knees and swing the arms. And we can start to make that movement a little bit bigger. So perhaps the arms come overhead and you're dipping the head down. And just move however feels good for you this morning. So we're always a bit stiff when we wake up. And coming to a full motion if that's good for you. Nice and loose. And we'll do one more. And then release the arms down. And then back to feet hip widths apart. And then we'll just start to take a very slight rotation. So starting with just what feels comfortable for the spine. And if you get the sense of that loosening, you can take the swing a little bit deeper. So eventually you might be able to turn to look behind you. So keeping the upper body nice and loose, the knees are a little bit soft. And keeping the breath through the nose. Okay, and then bringing that back to the centre. Okay, so just have your hairband or your elastic band close to you. Now I'm going to come quite close up so you can see. So we're going to just have a little bit of toe exercises. So feeling that groundedness through your feet. Imagine that you have a tripod. So the base of the big toe, the base of the little toe and the heel forms a triangle on each foot, and those are your tripods. And from there, can you lift the big toes up and bring them back down? Big toes up and bring them back down. Now have a look what happens as you lift the big toes. So on one side of my foot, I've got a toe that goes up quite straight, but when it comes down, it wants to join the other toes. And that is mainly because of wearing shoes where the toes are scrunched all up together. So what I've been working on is wearing shoes with more space and then doing exercises like this to try and give my toes independence from each other, a little bit of personal space, social distancing for your toes. So have a look what happens. Can you separate that big toe and lift it up and down? Now what we can do is a bit of resistance band training by putting your band around those big toes. So depending on how strong your band is will tell you how far your feet need to be. But essentially it's exactly the same exercise, but what happens is using that band will just help keep the toe a bit straighter as it comes up and down, and also give it a little bit of resistance strength training. Now, being able to lift the big toe is really important for maintaining the strength of the foot, particularly the arch. And it is part of the process of the foot when you're walking and when you're running to power the gait. So it's really important to have a big toe that is strong and mobile to facilitate that movement and make sure that you've got the strength through the arch of the feet. So really nice little resistance training exercise, and probably one that your PT in the gym probably won't have shown you. It's your toe resistance strength. Okay, so let's give in the feet a little bit of a wiggle. So you can also play around with just lifting the little toes as well. So you can switch between big toes, little toes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just a counter movement for that. So just taking one of your feet and bringing the top of the foot to the mat and just gently pressing down, so we're stretching through the top of the foot. Just keep the breath steady through the nose. So for some this can feel quite a strong stretch, but you're in complete control here because you can decide how much weight you press forward on there. Okay, so give the toes a wiggle. Now the opposite for that is then to come into a position like you're on the world's highest high heel and you're just pressing down onto the tips of the toes. So the whole of the rest of the foot is lifted up, and again, you can put as much weight into that leg as you want. Now from that position, could you lift the toes and rest them on the ankle, and then just allow the knee to come out to the side a little bit? So we still want to maintain the hips moving forwards. So imagine you've got headlights at the front here, they would be shining straight ahead. So now there's a little bit of a balance here, squeezing into the buttock on the standing leg. And if that feels okay, you could play around with moving the arms. So as we move the upper body, it destabilises us a little. And keeping nice soft shoulders down away from the ears. A steady breath. And next time you come to a breath out, just bring those arms back down, and then we'll draw the knee back in and give that leg a little bit of a shake. So same on this other side. We'll start with the stretch at the top. And then release that stretch, then pressing into the front of the toes. And then can you come into a position where we could rest the toes on the ankle and just allow the knee to come out to the side a little bit, maintaining the hips facing forwards. And squeezing and engaging the buttock on the standing leg. And if it feels okay and you feel balanced, you could take your arms overhead. Steady breath. And as you breathe out, bringing the arms back down, bringing the knee in, and giving those legs a nice shake. Okay, so between keeping the feet mobile, awake, that connection with the brain and the feet, and challenging them with balancing, two of the ways that I think you can best help affect your running. So balance often and go barefoot as much as you can around the house. Okay, so from here we're going to Bring the feet together, knees together, thighs together. And we're just going to play around now with the dorsiflexion of the ankle, so how far the knee can travel over the ankle before you feel a restriction. So I'd like you to imagine that you're going to sit on a high chair and you can just reach the arms out in front. So imagine you're sitting on a high chair and somebody is bringing you a really big chocolate cake. And notice what happens to the feet. Can you keep the feet and the toes on the ground? Can you keep your breath steady through the nose? And then taking a breath in, grabbing that cake and coming back up to standing, giving the legs a little bit of a shake. So that's known as the chair pose. I'm going to do that again, and this time bring a little bit of a twist into that movement. So again, imagine that you're sitting on your high chair and then taking one of your hands, bringing it across the knee, pop the other hand onto your lower back, and then we're just going to exhale and turn towards that side. Keep the breath steady. And then breathing in. Let's release up. Again, just give the legs a little bit of a shake, and we'll do the same on the other side. So sinking into your chair, taking the hand across, the other hand rests on the lower back. Exhale and twist. And breathing in to come back up to standing. If you join us. Hi there, Sophie. Hopefully you've got out of bed now. Hi, Mark. Okay, so bringing yourself to the back of your mat. And what we're going to do now is step forward into a lunge. So to prepare for this, just make sure that you sort of have your core engaged, and we're going to step forwards, let's say with the right leg, straight into a lunge. So taking a breath in and coming forwards. And the aim is to be able to step forwards without too much wobbling. And you can play around with whether you can bring yourself back. So stepping forwards and coming back. Stepping forwards and coming back. And next time you come forwards, we're going to stay and drop the back knee. Release the toes. Rest your hand on the knee if that feels good. And as you're in this position, you may want to just, in time with your breath, squeeze the buttock on this back leg and release as you exhale. And this just helps to remind the glutes that they need to fire when the leg is in this position, just slightly behind the hip. This is really good for opening up the area at the front of the hips, the hip flexors, which tend to get quite tight from sitting. Okay, so from here, we're going to drop back now, bring the hands to the floor, bring your bottom down towards your heels, and then lift the toes so that the back of your leg opens out towards the floor. So the back of the knee opens out, hopefully feeling a length through the whole of the back of the leg. And then can you bring the ankle to rest on the thigh of that leg? So hopefully that's okay for you with a bit of support. You can then play around with whether you can take your hands off. It becomes a little bit of a balance. And play around with that a little bit. So take your free hand, so it's probably worth having a bit of support here, and see if you can thread your fingers in between each of the toes. So a little bit like toe separators that we would wear, ladies, probably, most of us. If you're painting your toenails, you can use your fingers like this, and this is really lovely, going back to that personal space for each of the toes to counteract the squishing that our toes get when they're in shoes. So threading your fingers in, and then if you've been able to thread them in, you can just use your hand to move the toes and the top of the foot forwards and backwards. And you can, I don't know if you know, but you can buy silicone toe separators. So not the foam ones, they're silicone ones that you can wear for longer periods and actually walk around, and some of them you can wear inside shoes. So if you do have wide toe shoes, you can then wear the separators inside as a way of encouraging the feet to go back to that natural width that they have and creating this space for the toes. Okay, so let's extract the fingers. Give the foot a little bit of a wiggle. Now from here, could you put one foot forward and step into a squat? How does that feel? If you need the support of the floor, then do take that. I don't want anyone to keel over, but we're just exploring how that squat would feel. And then lifting the bottom up, just walking the feet in, hanging like a rag doll with the head, the arms are relaxed. And then with a little bit of a knee bend, just bringing yourself up to a standing position. And we'll go to the back of the mat again. Stepping forward into our lunge on the other side, so just preparing mentally and for the core that we're going to breathe in, step forwards into a lunge, and see if you can take that back. And on the next lunge, staying there, and dropping the back knee. And then again, when you're breathing in, squeezing the buttock on this side and releasing as you exhale. And then releasing the squeeze. We're going to sink back to bring the bottom to the heel, lifting the toes so we're opening up that leg to the floor. And then we're going to take the heel, the ankle, and just rest it onto the thigh on this leg. And again, just playing around with whether we can find a balance point. So if the hips are a little bit stiff, then this can be challenging, so do keep your fingers on the floor. So I can feel I've got a little bit of a niggle on my left hip, so this side is always a little bit harder for me, but I do explore that balance when I can. Okay, so having some support, taking your free hand, let's thread the fingers in between the toes. And then if you're able to do that, just moving the foot forwards and backwards, freeing those feet, freeing your toes. Okay, and then we'll release. So we're going to scoop that leg back to bring us into a kneeling position. So this time as we kneel, we've got that little bit of a stretch for the top of the foot, but the weight of our body's resting down. So just notice how that feels for the ankle and for the feet. So this is a really healthy position to sit in. If you're able to do some of your work, reading, TV watching in this position, would be fantastic for ankle and feet flexibility. And then as a counterpose to that, we could tuck the toes under and rest our body weight down. So again, this can feel quite strong. So keep the breath flowing evenly. And just sit for as long as is comfortable and then come out. It's not a no pain, no gain thing. It is just easing in and out of this position for what your toes can handle at the moment. So if you want a stronger stretch for the top of the feet, you can play around with pressing into the floor and lifting up the knees. And playing around with how that would feel lifting up or coming back down. So again, this is really dependent on how your ankles and feet feel. And then releasing down. Okay, so we're going to take the knees wide now, big toes together, and stretching the arms out in front, coming down to rest in a child's pose. So forehead to the floor, or if you've got a cushion, feel free to pop a load of cushions underneath so you've got support. And as you rest here, just bring your attention to your breath in the back of the body. So the rise and fall of the back ribs. Expansion and contraction. And adding that to the sensation now of the breath in the torso and the belly. So now you're visualizing your breath in 3D. So it's as if it's like a balloon, and as you breathe in, it's expanding on all sides, and as you breathe out, it's contracting again. And as you breathe like this, notice if any part of that feels restricted. Is there a restriction in the back or around the ribs? And then when you're ready, just letting go of that visualization for your breath and slowly bringing yourself back up to a kneeling position with the knees knees back together. And we'll take a breath in, scrunch the shoulders up towards your ears and release with a ha sound. And one more. So just dropping the eyelids for a moment, giving yourself a big smile inside and out for taking this time out to rest, to move your body, to connect with the floor, to connect with your breath, setting yourself up for your day. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes to come back to the room. Thank you very much, everybody. Namaste, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that and that your toes feel a little bit freer. So I've put a couple of extra resources together for your feet. So I will pop a link to that. It's part of a little mini course that I've put together that looks at breath, feet and some hip mobility. So I'll send that link through to you if you want to do a little bit more today. Otherwise, I shall see you again next week. Thank you very much for taking part. Hi Karen, thanks for that. And enjoy, I hope you enjoy on the replay as well. Do leave comments if you enjoy it and share. So thanks very much, have a fantastic day and I shall see you again next week. Bye.